Good afternoon. Today we're going to take a look at SCP Mizuki Revised Documentation. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. All known manifestations of SCP are to be continuously monitored by Foundation web crawling systems embedded within major social media, streaming, and content distribution platforms. Public dissemination of SCP-related content is to be suppressed through coordinated takedowns, copyright claims, algorithmic demotion, and misinformation campaigns. Newly discovered manifestations are to be removed within 6 minutes of detection, whenever possible. Individuals exposed to SCP media are to be designated affected persons and categorized according to exposure severity. Affected persons exhibiting early-stage symptoms are to be detained, administered Class B amnestics, and released under observation. Subjects demonstrating recurring exposure-seeking behavior following amnestic treatment are to be reclassified as persistent cases and placed under indefinite surveillance. Subjects exhibiting advanced stage symptoms, including compulsive dissemination of SCP media, repeated attempts to locate SCP, physically, spontaneous production of previously unknown SCP imagery, or claims of direct communication with the entity are to be designated A-class hosts. Termination authorization is granted for any A-class host determined to be functioning as an active transmission vector after repeated amnestic intervention has failed. Foundation personnel assigned to SCP investigations are prohibited from directly viewing unfiltered SCP media without Level 4 authorization and approved cognitive hazard protection. Exploration of the extra-dimensional region designated Site B remains suspended following Incident 41. Entry is restricted to specially authorized expedition teams. Current containment priority remains the prevention of SCP influence expansion within baseline reality. Full containment of the primary entity is considered impossible. Description: SCP is a hostile extra-dimensional intelligence currently occupying an isolated meta-reality connected to a previously unmapped sector of the Backrooms complex. Public awareness of SCP originates from a series of virtual personas collectively designated as Mizuki. These manifestations present as a female fox-like virtual streamer operating under various appearances. Investigation has determined that Mizuki is not an independent entity, but rather informational projection generated by SCP for the purpose of interacting with baseline reality. Prior to Foundation intervention, Mizuki accumulated a substantial online following across multiple platforms. Analysis of archived communications revealed statistically impossible audience retention rates, recurrent dream reports among viewers, and the spontaneous appearance of identical imagery among geographically unrelated communities. Initial classification identified SCP as a probable mimetic organism. This assessment was later determined to be incorrect. The existence of the primary entity was not confirmed until Foundation expeditions into the backrooms recovered fragmented evidence from multiple unrelated locations. No individual expedition obtained sufficient information to identify SCP. However, when combined, recovered materials revealed references to a singular intelligence occupying an isolated meta-realm beyond the mapped regions of the complex. Recovered evidence included depictions of a cubic vulpine entity exceeding local spatial dimensions, references to a sleeper beyond hallways, recovered photograph matching Mizuki manifestations after Incident 41, geometric anomalies exhibiting recurring nine-tailed symmetry. Cross-analysis eventually led to the discovery of Site B. The site consists of an apparently infinite region of interconnected structures displaying architectural characteristics inconsistent with known backrooms environments. Long-range observations suggest that much of the region is not constructed around SCP, but instead physically integrated with it. Current Foundation theory proposes that SCP has occupied the region for an unknown duration, potentially predating human civilization. Direct observation of SCP remains impossible. Sensor systems deployed within Site B repeatedly fail to produce consistent measurements. Recorded dimensions vary between approximately 4 meters and several astronomical units. Topological scans indicate that only a limited three-dimensional cross-section of SCP is visible from baseline reality. Human observers consistently describe the visible portions as a massive cube, exhibiting vulpine anatomical features, including eyes, ears, tails, and fur-like surface structures. This is believed to be an artifact of human perception. Current consensus suggests SCP is a hyperdimensional object whose actual geometry cannot be fully represented within three-dimensional space. The Fox Cube form observed by witnesses is believed to be a cognitively generated approximation. The purpose of Mizuki manifestations appear to be construction of a persistent influence network within baseline reality. Evidence suggests SCP is attempting to establish a stable pathway between its current meta-reality and consensus reality. The exact mechanism remains unknown. The long-term objective of SCP is believed to be escape. Should SCP successfully establish a stable presence within baseline reality, projected outcomes range from global noospheric restructuring to complete assimilation of local spacetime into an extension of Site B. The probability of an XK-class end-of-world scenario following successful manifestation remains under review. Addendum 1. Expedition Log 17. Date 2000. Assigned Team Expedition Group 17. Objective: mapping of remote sectors beyond previously established routes. At approximately 1842, expedition members entered a region previously surveyed on 3 separate occasions. Team Navigator Agent Vorga immediately reported the presence of an unknown structure. The structure occupied a location where no anomaly had been documented during prior surveys. Description of structure as recorded by Agent Vorga. Looks like a giant cube. Perfect edges. Doesn't belong here. The object measured approximately 11 meters on all visible sides, and was constructed from an unidentified black material exhibiting no visible seams. A single door was present on the eastern face. Attempts to open the door proved unsuccessful. No hinges, locking mechanism, or handles were identified. The exterior surface displayed 2 engraved murals. These images depict a fox-like figure possessing 9 tails at both sides of the door, 1 white variant and 1 dark variant. The murals appear heavily weathered despite the apparent recent manifestation of the structure. No further anomalies were observed. The structure was designated Point of Interest, pending future investigation. Notes: at the time of the discovery, no connection was established between the murals and SCP. Subsequent review identified visual similarities exceeding 99.7%. Addendum 2. Expedition Log 23. Date 2000. Assigned Team Expedition Group 23. Objective: re-examination of Point of Interest. Expedition Group 23 arrived at Point of Interest approximately 8 months after initial discovery. No structural changes were observed. At 13:17 local expedition time, audio equipment carried by Agent Mercer began recording an unidentified transmission. No corresponding sound was perceived by team members during the event. The recording was discovered only after returning to Foundation custody. Recovered audio fragment BR-112. Begin log. End log. Analysis of the recording failed to identify a speaker. Linguistic reconstruction software estimates a 73% probability that portions of the voice originated from multiple overlapping sources. Acoustic anomalies indicate the speaker may have located both inside and outside the recorded environment simultaneously. No personnel reported hearing the transmission during the expedition. The significance of the phrase was not recognized until discovery of SCP. Addendum 3. Expedition Log 41. Date 2000. Assigned Team Expedition Group 41. Objective: routine monitoring of Point of Interest. At 0911 local expedition time, Agent Lee reported a significant alteration to point of interest. The door previously observed on the structure's eastern face was standing open. Remote observation was conducted for approximately 42 minutes. No hostile activity was detected. Level 4 authorization was granted for limited exploration. Expedition Group 41 entered the structure at 10:03. Internal architecture did not correspond to exterior dimensions. Initial scans revealed a single corridor extending beyond sensor range. The corridor appeared identical to standard backrooms architecture. Singular light source at the entrance and at the end of the hallway. No environmental hazards were detected. At 10:16, Agent Nakamura reported visual contact. Audio excerpt.
Someone sitting down there. Foundation personnel. Wow. Got you identified. Looks like a model. Why is she so far away? I don't know.
At 10:19, Agent Rivera captured a still image using a standard expedition camera. The image was successfully recovered. The photograph depicts an apparently ordinary corridor. At the far end stands a female figure matching Mizuki manifestations documented years later. The figure appears to be smiling. Initial analysis estimated the distance between the camera and the figure at approximately 80 meters. Subsequent review determined the corridor length exceeded 8.7 kilometers. The figure nevertheless occupied approximately 12% of the image frame. No satisfactory explanation has been established. At 10:21, all expedition members reported sudden disorientation. Audio records captured multiple personnel expressing confusion regarding the figure's distance. At 10:22, Agent Rivera shouted, "Why is it getting bigger?" This statement is considered significant. Frame-by-frame analysis confirms the photographed figure never changed position. No movement is visible throughout the recovered footage. At 10:23, communication with Expedition Group 41 was lost. Emergency extraction procedures were initiated. At 13:51, Agent Rivera emerged from a previously mapped transition point approximately 27 kilometers from the entry location. Agent Rivera was the sole recovered survivor. The remaining 6 members of Expedition Group 41 remain missing. Agent Rivera's camera was recovered intact. During the later interview, it was discovered Agent Rivera had suffered from major memory loss of some kind and could not remember anything about what had happened during and after the event. Following Expedition 41, Point of Interest was redesignated as Site B. All further exploration activities require O5 authorization. That's it for today. Thank you for watching and see you on the next one.